This is Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 12th meeting of the Michigan City Port Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting, September 12th. I call the meeting to order and looking for approval or corrections to the August 15th meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, do you have any comments from the public?
Yes, my name is Jim Bowack. We've been here a couple times. I just wonder if the Port Authority has any kind of action yet on the fact that my boat got stolen, or you guys come to any decisions on that, what we're going to do, or what anybody's going to do?
Let's just speak there.
Well, I have not been able to connect with the officer that's investigating it. Mr. Bowack says he has had contact with them and was hoping we would pursue a trespassing charge when they get a hold of somebody. We do have a no trespassing sign on the gate out front, and he did have to climb over the fence to do it. But so far, I don't have anything official from the police station.
What I've been told so far by Detective Ford is that they have interviewed the witnesses and saw the films, and they have asked the district attorney to issue a warrant for felony theft, which is pretty severe. You know, and this young man that took the boat, it seems like a felony arrest would be pretty severe for the little joyride that he took, and hopefully, ideally, if the Port Authority would pursue a misdemeanor trespassing charge, he'd get the slap on the wrist without a big production. And that's what I'm hoping to partner up with you guys, and you guys pursue the trespassing charge.
Well, what is your position? You don't want him charged with a felony?
Well, I certainly do,
Pursue a misdemeanor against him?
I think that a felony charge for a little boat ride is severe for this man if he gets convicted. He's 24 years old. More importantly, in these days and times, what I don't want are any repercussions on me or my family.
What repercussions do you think you might face?
Well, all my personal information will become public at that point. If this man apparently this man runs with a crowd that's less than favorable to the court. That's what the detective told me. So I don't want some Yahoo knocking on my door either.
We don't want the same sort of yahoos
No, I understand
on
that.
our doors.
But I think it's incumbent on you guys to provide a certain degree of security for the boaters here. You know, it's not my fence that got violated.
Right, but I think as the videotape has shown, is that some boater let him in.
No, he climbed over the fence.
Okay.
The front gate he climbed over, he got through the second gate when someone was coming out.
Okay. Right, but what I don't understand is if you don't want to pursue, I mean, do you want to pursue a misdemeanor charge against him?
I am pursuing, right now, I'm
Felony
pursuing
charge.
this, but I'm hoping that you'll pursue your side of the fence too. And at the end of the day,
I mean, ultimately, that's a charging decision that's made by the attorney, the state's attorney.
don't you have to file a complaint that somebody trespassed on your property?
Well, I mean, that's something that the board can discuss, but it would be discussed in an executive session. It couldn't be discussed.
Well, I'm not asking for any inside secrets, my boat got stolen, I'd like to know what we're all going to do. I'm going to pursue this as far as I need to pursue it. It seems like a felony charge for this little adventure is extreme. A misdemeanor charge would be better, but right now the police are charging him with grand theft. They have a warrant issued for his arrest supposedly, that's what I'm being told. But on a more global view, what are we going to do about the fact that he broke in and stole anybody's boat? What is the Port Authority's view on that?
Well, obviously, we've got fences, we've got cameras. Do you have a camera on your boat by chance?
No.
Okay, perhaps that.
We don't, we stay in a rack and sometimes we want to slip. So we don't.
You might want to consider putting a camera on your boat. That could be helpful. That could deter this sort of behavior.
But as an entity, what do you owe us clients of yours?
Well, we have a fence, we have cameras, we have security around.
I can see that, but now that a violation has occurred, shouldn't you pursue this?
As I said, that discussion would have to be in an executive session with the board.
Is that on an agenda? to have that discussion?
It's presently not on the agenda, it could be.
Could I ask for it to be on the agenda? I mean, I'm not trying to be a clown, I just, my vote got stolen, and I think it's disappointing that it happened, but I would like to see the Port Authority be offended as well.
Well, the Port Authority is definitely offended, there's no question about that.
Okay. So, what happens next?
Well, I think Mr. Frame will continue to coordinate with the Michigan City Police. If they have a suspect, the board will, in all likelihood, schedule an executive session to decide what it intends to do.
I would appreciate that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I just want to know an update on what had happened, what's happening today. Fair enough, thank you very much.
As a boat owner, I would like to chime in on that a little bit. I think it would be very inappropriate for the board not to do anything in regards to this violation. It would not show a very good representation to the rest of the boat owners that are out here depending upon this committee to service us.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Report from the harbor master, Mr. Frank.
All right. This week over on the beach in front of the launch ramp is the Hobie Cat 16 Nationals. It started yesterday, it runs through Friday. I counted about 38 Hobie Cats out there right now. I don't believe they did any racing today because of the weather, but they have races scheduled all this week. I don't know how many boats they were expecting, but I would say 38 is a pretty good turnout. We've been using the avian dissuader laser to disperse the cormorants from the cottonwood trees over by the Coast Guard station with probably a, I don't know, 70 to 80% success rate. Some are deterred, some are not. In the meantime, one of the boaters on the 200 dock tried flying his drone up near the tree, which cleared him out 100%. So Brian and I are researching a waterproof drone that maybe we can pick up where the boater left off. What he did was hung some streamers under his drone and flew up near the tree, and apparently the streamers scared the birds. But then upon landing, the second night he tried it, he landed too quickly and sucked a streamer into his rotor, and that took care of the drone. So we'll see what we can do on that. And then as far as day-to-day stuff goes, we've started pulling boats out at Trail Creek. We've done 3 or 4 so far. It is that time of year. And other than that, things are normal.
Any questions for Mr. Frank? Seeing none. Reports from the assistant administrator harbor master.
We've been really busy with transients, the loopers coming around. There's one couple that's been doing it for 6 years that they're school teachers, so they only go during the summer. Wherever they end at, that's where they start the next year. So it's been 6 years that they've been trying to complete it. And I said we're making the appointments for the winter storage, and they're very busy with that.
Any questions for Mary Ann? Anybody? Okay, moving on. Mr. Ferguson, budget financial oversight review approval of the bills to be paid.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got a couple things. We'll talk about the bills first. Everybody's got their summary statement. I'm just going to go from there. We'll just kind of go down the list rather quickly. Card member services there for $6,269. Generally for supplies, there was some bird things there that we bought to take care of situations. There's 2 things for fuel coming down. That first one for $23,900, and then the other fuel for $83,000, almost $300, for a total of $107,206. Those are both the Petro choices. We just had two different billings. Obviously, trash removal coming down, water, lawn service, some plumbing repairs. Oops, that's the smaller one. And then the bigger one there, NIPSCO, our NIPSCO bill is obviously keeps kind of climbing a little bit. And all of those total those bigger ones total like 141,252. So with that, I would make a motion to pay the bills as listed and open for questions.
Do we know if this is our toilet paper bill for the month, or is that the season?
I believe that's a periodic type thing.
It's not for a season anymore.
Okay, I was just wondering if that was like our monthly. I was gonna say, wow.
Just on one of the restrooms.
Yeah, I would expect more, bathroom repairs if that was how much toilet paper.
Any questions?
Have a motion on the floor.
Looking for a second?
No, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pay the bills. What else do you have?
It's getting to be that time of year where we're looking at next year financially, so I just want to let the board know and progress and taking a look at all the numbers and historically and slowly moving forward. When we have more to talk about the coming couple of months, I guess, month and a half probably, we'll get back to you. That's all I have.
That's all I got. Any questions for Sam? Everybody good? All right, moving on to Mr. Haynes, claims and insurance.
I have nothing to report on claims or insurance.
Okay, meeting port operations personnel marina policy. We got together and talked about the dinghies and the slips and everything else, and we're kind of looking at the fact that we just have use of space. You have so much space to use, and when you go outside that parameter, there'll be charges is what we're looking towards. So I just want to bring that up to get some thought on that, because there's no reason to try to figure out what a dinghy is, what it isn't. What you can use within the space is what you're allowed to use inside that space. The parameter is inside your slip, and once you go out of a certain use, you can get to a certain spot that will charge you more for, but when you exceed so much, you just can't have it there. That's kind of what we came up with. So I don't know if anybody else has any input on that, or if that sounds reasonable to everybody. We can.
What was your recommendation for space? I don't quite understand what you're saying.
Well, because we already have dinghies hanging over.
Right.
Okay, and we already have a hangover fee already. So
You got boats hanging over too.
Well, so it's gonna be the use of the space. So even if you have a second boat, that boat becomes part of your space. So let's put it like at the end of the big dock, we have the guy has the extra one, but it's because he pays for the whole slip.
Right, 300.
So, I mean, we talked about that. So basically, let's say if somebody has a metal john boat, that's not really considered dinghy, but it's still within the space that he can use. So it's tucked up in the front of the boat or somewhere around it. We're not going to try to tell you can't have that style, you can have this style, but you can't have that style. That just becomes way too much governing.
So what you're saying is anything outside of their space, they can't have.
At a certain point, there's going to be a
What point?
tolerance. That's what we're getting to. That's what I'm saying. We got to figure out what the tolerance is.
Oh, I thought that's what you were doing.
We have been working on that.
Okay, all right,
But I want to make sure that everybody was on the same page as that.
okay.
And what kind of tolerance, what do you think?
Well, we were at our meeting, we talked about width-wise, you had to stay 2 feet less than the width of your slip. And then whatever you stuck out past that, the line between finger piers, we already have our standard overage amount. We did not put a outer limit on, but as long as you're less than the width of your slip, it's not going to stick out very far anyway, because you're going to park parallel, in here like this. So we could put 5 feet, you could put 3 feet, you could put 6 feet. That's up for discussion yet, but the idea is to keep it within the width of your slip. one of the issues we run into is some of the dinghies overhang onto the neighbor's slip. And then it makes it difficult for them to get in or out, or to use that slip as a transient, because now you've got something hanging out. So the idea was to stay within the width of the slip, and then it just adds on as so much per foot that you're sticking out, rather than try to figure out, like he mentioned, is it a rigid hull inflatable, is it complete inflatable, is it whatever? And then they're gonna vary with the size of the slip. So if you got a 60-foot slip, your slip's probably 20 feet wide. Whereas if you have a 30-foot slip, you're quite a bit less than that, so.
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned about the width of the thing. I was concerned about how far out
Right.
in the channel it's going to stick.
Right.
And we don't have a number for that, I guess.
Not exact yet. That's what we wanted to talk about.
I mean, that's a safety issue.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's 3 feet or 4 feet.
Right.
So.
So are they still in the midst of the finalization? of-
Yeah, but I just want to make sure I brought that up so we kind of get a talking point, and that way if you guys have an input towards that, we can gather that and go from there. But I think if in the long run, it's easier for Joe to say, okay, this is your space, instead of trying to dictate what piece of what can be there. So that's kind of what my thought was there. So I guess really I need to kind of get your map put together on the width of the fairways and what the town's gonna be. So we're gonna work on that. That's ongoing, but I just wanted to make sure we brought that up to everybody.
That was good. I attended the meeting also, and Mr. Gray had a lot of nice ideas and thoughts that he threw out. Mr. Frame and Mr. Bryan here had some excellent pictures of boats that, maybe were in violation and some that were close. A lot of nice pictures that we went through and, talked about it, and we talked about, it's not a dinghy,
Right.
We can't name it something else, because something else could be in there besides that. Anything floatable can be in there, we don't want to call them a dinghy. So, but I thought it was an excellent meeting, and got a lot out of it. We still have things to go with.
Right. So, but I want to make sure everybody had an opportunity to put their 2 cents on with us. John, have some. Any other thoughts? Anybody else? That's really the only thing I got to cover right now. So we'll go to Mr. Messina, Fire Communications and Special Events.
I haven't talked with too many people other than the Tri-State Boat Race, I think was last weekend, maybe 2 weekends ago now. And I guess that was a successful event. And we were able to get security down there for them. I did not hear that part.
As far as I know, we did. I have not heard we didn't.
Yeah, I didn't hear that we didn't either, but they said it was a successful event and they had a lot going on, so. I've heard nothing from any other boaters, so I have no other information to pass on.
No other questions for Mr. Messina? All right, moving on to Mr. Manor, Master Planning Special Projects and Park Liaison.
I have nothing from master planning. The park department right now is investigating. It doesn't mean that this is going to happen, but what they're doing is investigating. Well, let me back up a little bit. As everybody knows, you could get into the park for free after the kids went back to school. They could not get the senior citizens to do it because they're concerned about their safety and stuff. So the senior citizens used to fill that in for them. They didn't do it this year, and nobody knows whether they're going to do it next year. So they're looking into automatic entrances, okay? Like a toll road or something like that, which would be an automatic where they didn't actually have people collecting money and stuff like that. This is something that they're going to look at maybe for next year, year after next, who knows? They've got a lot of investigating to do. But I just wanted to bring it up to us because my question to them, which I understand was successful to me, is how's that going to affect us with our, we have to go in that way to get to our parking lot, okay? So that's something we have to be concerned about once they start if they even decide to do this, we have to look at ways that we would prefer to use this automatic thing to get into our parking lot. Whether it just be a boat sticker or whatever, who knows, maybe it could be something like that. But I just wanted to bring it up to your attention that this is something that they're considering doing. Doesn't mean they're gonna do it, because they got a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot before anything happens. But that's something that they're considering.
All right, moving on. Ms. Buettner, advertising and public relations.
I have nothing new to report.
All right, the most exciting part of the meeting, the attorney's report. Mr. Zach?
Yeah, nothing to report on the Blue Chip Peninsula. Status is the same there, undertaking their due diligence. And then earlier today, Mrs. Palicki sent out an email asking for proposed changes to the rules and regulations. I don't know if anybody has responded to that or who's going to collect those, but I'd be happy to take a look at those suggestions and then work with either the board as a group or a committee, if one is appointed, to go through our rules and regulations, kind of modernize them a little bit. If there are some typographical errors in it or grammatical errors, we can clean all those up. And then where there are areas that are a little unclear, we can use this as an opportunity to clear them up, clarify, and just as wholesale, revamp and update them so that they're usable and they're user-friendly. So I'd be happy to take that on anytime, or as comments come in.
Anything else for Joe?
I think maybe we should send this to the committee and let the committee sit down with Joe and anybody, that has suggestions that changes. We could get them to Joe and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. What I could do is I can take what we currently have, put it into a Word document, and then do a red line. Red line shows that, if you strike something out, it'll put a line through it. You add something, it shows that it's been added. And then a clean copy of that in a red line version. So we could look at it and see what at least my proposed changes would be. And then anything else that comes in from the board, I would incorporate in as well. And it could just, I'm not asking for board members to give me verbatim the wordage they want. Just give me a concept, tell me, clean this up, this is a little unclear, and then leave that work to me. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I do all day long, so to speak.
I'd like to suggest that if you're going to assign a committee, that you assign it after this meeting.
Yep.
So we can
Move on.
talk to people and ask them if they're interested in stuff like
Yep.
that.
Sounds good.
I think I turned in probably 12 different items that I saw that highlighted.
Dan's the only one that's turned him in.
Oh, okay.
But it is something that needs to be moved on because probably by the end of the month, it's gonna have to go to the printers.
Okay.
Very well. Very well. All right, anything else for Mr. Zach Newman? Okay, moving on. Any new business to bring up? Other than what we just talked about. Old business. Comrades, you're working that angle pretty well, I see. Cameras are almost, we complete with the cameras?
Not
Install?
quite.
Just about?
Yeah, getting there.
All right. And anything else?
What was ever completed with the slip holders that were unhappy with not being able to use their slip at the beginning of the season? Was there a final count and a final amount that we refunded?
Not yet, it's gonna come off, we're not refunding, we're giving it off for slips.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's between probably 10 and 15 that didn't come in due to that.
Okay. Good.
And that you just needed to pick them up for when the bills go out for that.
So that, we gotta decide on what the fair amount is, as far as that goes. Mary Ann believes that 250 would be the fair amount on the ones that held on. So I don't know what anyone else has thought as far as that goes. Anybody wanna make a motion on that? Or do you wanna wait till next meeting and think about it and go over it next meeting? We can just go over it next meeting. So let's have your thoughts and
One of my questions is is it just going to be a set amount for everybody? Or if some people came in before other people
Yeah,
came in?
there's two different groups. There's a group of people that moved around and had power the whole time. There's a group of people that didn't have power, were there, and there's a group of people that waited because they knew they didn't have power. So the smallest amount is the last group, is the one that didn't have power, that stayed out of water, which actually helped us the most because we didn't have to jump.
Right, right.
So and that's the final one, is that, because we already did the matching equation for everybody else on that, the prorated amounts of lost use. So we just have to-
I would like to make a motion that $250, is that what we're talking about? I'd like to make a motion that we pay them $250.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Anybody else want to make comment?
Not a negative comment, just a detailing comment. Where did the 250 kind of come from, and who's it for again exactly? With those people?
It's for, there's a considerable group of people that said, you know what, we don't have power, I don't want to move around, I don't want to have to jockey around, I want my slip and I want to go in.
And no, so wait, thank you.
And that's well documented who those people are.
Do we know about the number of those people?
There's only about 10 or 15 that didn't come in at all.
That's all I was looking for, thank you.
Was your question too, which bucket is that money gonna come out of?
I'm not worried about
Oh,
that,
okay.
that's what these people are paid for, to determine that.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's what we're doing. We got rid of holdings in a second. All right. So, next motion I'm looking for is, Mr. Kelsey.
Yes, I'm sorry. I would just like to make one request, because of where I'm docked at and all of the transient boats that we had coming in that are doing the loop and that, there's confusion coming into our marina because we do not have a gas dock sign when they're coming in, nor a Port Authority sign, and there were boats wandering around within the harbor looking for some direction. So I would request that we look at putting up a gas and the harbor master sign.
Thank you. Mr. Frame will look into getting that taken care of for us. So with that, I'm looking for
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
second.
I'm not gonna.